Hey everybody, I'm Jesse Batend, and this is We Still Like You, the show where people agree to get up on stage and tell strangers their most shameful stories.
Okay, so this is a nightmare I may not be ready to live through.
I started getting crushes on boys.
Real embarrassed about this.
My mouth gets the best of me pretty much all the time.
Okay, I'm just like, all right.
There we go.
Thank you for tuning in again. As always, we have a couple of shameful stories for you told at our live events around the country. But before we get too far into this episode, I wanted to let you know about a special live event we have coming up in a few weeks. I'm incredibly excited to say that We Still Like You will be part of the Chicago Podcast Festival this year. It's a whole week of live podcast tapings with incredibly cool shows like Up and Vanished, Improv for Humans, and Crybabies with Tim Meadows and Andy Richter. Our show will be October 4th at 7 p.m. Check out our Facebook page for event and ticket info, and if you're in Chicago, we really hope to see you there. But in the meantime, today, in what is probably a first for We Still Like You, both of today's stories star people who can't blame their bad behavior on being under the influence. This week, we salute the people who keep us safe most of the time, who take away our car keys and give us couches to crash on. Sober people. So you know how fancy business people are always talking about how the key to success is identifying a problem and solving it and all that? That's for sure how businesses like Uber got invented. Being a designated driver sucks, but for Uber drivers, being sober around drunk people is just part of the job description. For every sleepy, happy person you pick up, there's someone in the middle of their own We Still Like You story. The guy who just got kicked out of a bar. You know, the person who's too drunk to be in the place that drunk people are allowed to be drunk in. That's your client. Our first story today comes to you from performer Cody Cartagena. It's about a night when a very drunk, very fancy businessman pays him a bunch of cash to be his personal Uber driver for the night. And it all goes downhill from there.
Okay, does anyone here drive for Uber or Lyft? No one has. Okay, so there's some weird shit that happens when you drive for either of these. Like one time, this guy, he ordered a Lyft for his boss. I guess they were having some sort of like event with their like work or whatever. His boss is like wasted beyond control. He gets in my back seat. He's like, here's his address. Okay, get him home safely. Bye. I'm literally driving down downtown Austin, and the boss like unlocks his door and like opens it and literally just like tucks and rolls out. And I'm like there's nothing I can do. Like I'm literally driving. And so I have to call this guy, the employee of this guy, and be like, hey, your boss just literally ran out of my moving vehicle and he ran away and I can't find him. So good luck. Like, what else am I supposed to do? Another time I picked up this drunk girl and her boyfriend on like a Wednesday night at like 10 p.m. She gets in the front seat and then he gets in the back seat. It's like a very peaceful ride. It's also very short. It's like a 5-minute drive. It's not far at all. We're probably listening to like Ariana Grande's greatest hits. Like it's very chill. No one's talking, but it's not like weird or anything. It's not awkward. It's just like, it's a chill night, you know? And then we're about a minute away from her place, and all of a sudden she lifts up her skirt and she starts fingering herself. And she's like moaning and getting like super into it. And her boyfriend is laughing in the backseat because he knows exactly what she's doing. And I'm super non-confrontational, so I'm just like, ha, that's cool. And so we pull up to her place and I'm like, we're here, have a good night, get out. And then she like proceeded to like fall and like hit her head on the front of my car. And then later that same night, I found a knife like stuffed into my front seat. Not saying they're related, but you know. So that's the kind of shit that happens when you like drive for one of these companies. Okay, I'm gonna preface this story by saying that I am a mega goody two-shoes. So to give you some context on like the kind of person that I am, when I was like 13, 14, like middle school into high school, I used to break into my neighbors' houses, but I would break into their houses to like watch movies. I would never like steal anything, and I would never like snoop or anything. I would just break in and like watch like scary, I guess for like the thrill of it. I don't know. I lived in a small town. Like we all sort of knew like each other's work and like vacation schedules, and so it was really easy to just like know when people were going to be out of town. I was caught one time by a neighbor who, it was a friend of mine's mom, and she like opened the door, and I was in her living, I was watching like The Strangers or something, like something really fucking scary. She like opened the door and she was like, "Oh my God, you scared me. What are you watching?" And then she like sat down with me. It was like that kind of town. I guess fast forward to like last summer. I'm 22, like fresh out of college. I'm jobless. I'm depressed. I have no money. I don't know what I'm doing with my life. And so I am driving for Uber and Lyft at this time. So I get a request one night. It's also a Wednesday night. I get a request to pick up some guy from Hooters at like 11 p.m. Like downtown Austin, Hooters, 11 p.m. So I'm like, great. I just know this person's going to be a great passenger. I know it. I go to the parking lot. I wait for him. He gets in my car. He gets in the front seat. I tried to rack my brain for his name, but I think I repressed his name to the point where like I literally don't want to remember it because I feel so bad for what I did to him, which I'll get to later. That like I literally cannot remember his name, so we're just gonna call him Scott. So Scott gets in my car. You know when white people like are like super red and like they look like leather, they're like leathery. He's like that kind of white person. And he just like reeks of alcohol. He like smells so bad. He's so drunk. So Scott tells me, he's like, I want to stay out. I don't want to go home yet. I will pay you $200 to stay out with me, like keep me company, and then take me home at the end of the night whenever I'm done doing like whatever I want to do. And I'm like, okay, we're doing it. Well, I'm doing it. So I take him to this bar on West 6th Street, which if you've never been to Austin, oh, he knows. It's not cute. So we go in, and immediately he's just like stumbling. It was like traumatizing. He's like stumbling around. He's so drunk. People are giving us like dirty looks. They're like, why did this kid bring his like sad drunk uncle to like this bar of ours? And I'm like I'm sorry. It's a thing. I sit down. He goes and gets a drink, and I'm like texting my friend. I'm like my roommate at the time. I'm like, listen, I'm doing this thing. I'm taking this guy out to a bar. He wants me to keep him company. He's gonna give me $200. I know I might get murdered, but like I really need the money. So like I don't want to hear it. Just like know that if you don't hear from me in like the next like 3 hours or so, I'm probably dead. And so he comes back with his drink, and he's just like saying the most vile things about like the women in the bar. He's just like the shittiest kind of person, like totally validating every like little thing that I suspected about him. He's just like a garbage human. And so then he looks at me and he's like, so do you have a boyfriend? I was like, ooh, there it is. I knew it. I fucking knew it. I'm just like super uncomfortable, and I don't want to engage with him. So I'm like, no, I don't have a boyfriend. He's like, well, why not? Why not? You're a good-looking guy. You could have any guy. He's just like going on and on. And I'm just like, he knows I don't want to talk about it. He like goes to get another drink, and I look back down at my phone and I have like 25 texts from like my roommate being like, are you okay? Like, do I need to call the cops? Like, are you okay? I respond and I'm like, yes, I'm fine. And I look up and he's gone. He's like nowhere to be seen. And I'm like, I think the fuck not. I want my money. No. I'm like looking all over the fucking place. I find him at the entrance about to get kicked out because he was groping women inappropriately. The bouncer looks at me and is like, is this your dad? I'm like, no, that's not my fucking dad. And he's like, well, he needs to go. And I'm like, yeah, I know, I get it. He's being kicked out. So I like lead him to my car. And he's like screaming at the top of his lungs about how this is like unjust. This is un-American, that he's been thrown out of this bar. It's a free country, blah, blah, blah. Trump is gonna be president soon. Like all this fucking shit. And I'm just like, I just want my money and I want to buy just a hamburger and fries and go to bed. Like, so we get to my car. I open the passenger door seat for him, or you know, the thing. He pulls out his phone, which it's one of those, it has a phone case on it that has like a money clip. And so she knows where this is going. So he pulls out his phone, it has a money clip on it. He like throws it into the car because he's frustrated for whatever reason. Bills and cards go everywhere. And I'm like, okay. I go back around and I sit down in the front seat. I look around. It's mostly hundreds. On like like they're all over the fucking car. Like on my side, like on the floor in the passenger seat, like on the console and the cup holders. And I'm like, okay, just play it cool. I'm gonna do this, but I have to be smart about this. And so I'm like, okay, where do you live? What's your address? And he tells me. I look it up in Google Maps. It's fucking 30 minutes. It's like in another town. It's not even in Austin, Texas. It's in another town over. So I'm like, okay, I have to do this. I have plenty of time. And so we're driving. He's talking he just wants to talk about politics. Like he's going on and on about Trump and like Hillary, because this is before, you know. And so he has to pee at one point. So I'm like, he's like, pull over, I have to pee. And so I'm like, okay. And so I pull over on the side of the highway. He gets out. I think I was assuming he was gonna like step out and I would like go like a few feet away from the car, and that would be my opportunity to just like take all his money. But he literally pees. He's sitting down. He just like turns this way and pees like right out of the car. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? So, but I did it anyways. Like while he was doing that, I like swiped some and I put them in like the underside of my seat, so that in the event that like he were to like search, I was thinking this all through my head. My heart was beating at this point. Like under my seat in the event that he were to like search me. And so he turns back around, and I'd lost count at how many bills I'd swiped from him. And so he turns back around and he's like, okay, go. I'm like, okay. So we keep going, and he's like, he keeps talking. He's like falling asleep, and like every time his head like falls back, I take another one. And so we pull up to his place finally after 30 minutes, and I'm like, okay, we're here, like, have a good night. And he's like, okay, let me gather my stuff. And he's like, where's my phone? He's like, look, he's checking his pockets, and I know his phone is like probably underneath the passenger seat. And so he like pulls something out of his pocket, and it's a knife. Yeah. And I'm like, I know where your phone, I'll get it for you. And so I like grab it, and then I grab like some more of his bills that were like 20s, and I like crumpled them up to make it look like, oh, you dropped all of your money, but like, here, I got it all for you, don't worry. And so I gave him back his phone and like some 20s, and he's like, okay, awesome, cool. He gets out. He's like standing on my car like this. He's like, so do you want to come in? And I'm like, no. And I like reach over and I pull the door closed and I'm like, have a good night. And I like peel out. I'm like, ooh, bye. Yeah. So I keep going for like a couple miles. My heart is racing. I've never done anything like this in my life. I pull over and I count the money. I got $1,000. Literally $1,000. And I used that money to move to Chicago. I paid my rent, moved to Chicago, and now I'm here.
Cody, Cartagena. Up next, Charlie Vergos tries to get a drunk Canadian home, even though he has no idea where he's going. Welcome back to We Still Like You. Story number 2 for today takes place in the strange, faraway land of Canada. It comes to you from comedian Charlie Vergos, an American, who sets out to get a drunk Canadian home and ends up learning a few things about compassion. From Chicago, here's Charlie Vergos.
All right, you guys, we have one more comic for you tonight, and I'm super excited to bring him up. He's one of my favorites in town. He's leaving us soon. It makes me sad, but he's going to go on and do some pretty amazing stuff. You guys put your hands together for Charlie Vergos, everybody.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Give it up for Dan and J-Mo and all them. This is a weird show for me to be on because, like, I kind of pride myself in not putting myself in dumbass situations. Like, it's pretty, you could just say no. They're so easy to avoid, you know? Like, I just said no in high school. It's pretty easy. Like, I didn't do drugs. I feel fine. It's great. I'm not missing out on shit. I can drink a beer, put it down, be done. I read all the user agreements when I, like, buy iTunes to shit. Like, they're pretty easy to avoid. I don't know. So, like, I usually come to this show just to, like, feel better than everybody. Like, I'll say the words, "We still like you," but, like, afterwards, like, I'm probably not gonna make eye contact with Jane. Right? So, I was on the road in Toronto last November. I was doing a show there. And sometimes after comedy shows, not often, every once in a while, a woman will come up to and will be interested in having sex. Not often. And I don't like that idea. Like, to me, comics hate this, but comedy is like an art form. And if you're trying to, like, use it to get laid, it kind of cheapens it, you know? Like, if you have sex with a painting, that painting is ruined, you know? You get, like... Also, like, then it just becomes some shit you said to get laid at a party. And so, like, if that's the goal, I might as well just be up here doing double-jointed shit, talking about all the bouncers I know, you know? But a very attractive girl comes up to me. I wish I had, like, a better description, but I would not know her very well. And she was like, "Oh, you were very funny tonight," which was true. Cool. And I was like, "Oh, thank you very much." And then she said, "You know, I find Southern accents kind of sexy," and I said, "Ma'am," and and we start talking, and, like, I don't know, like, one night stands I'm very uncomfortable with, just because, like, it means you're human. If you're, like, sexually attracted to a stranger, it means you're human, which means, like, you have needs, and if you have needs, you're part of the fray. You're not above the fray anymore. You're not a painting. You know, if you're sexually attracted, you're also more susceptible to being jealous, getting possessive, you know. I have a lot of trust issues, you know. You have, like, you know, you're more susceptible to doing a lot of the dirty shit that humans do, like bidding an extra $1 on The Price is Right. You know, those people have sex. And I don't want to be them. But This is a week after Trump got elected, and so you're kind of questioning, like, what is the point of even being a good person, you know? And so we start talking. I have a beer. She has a glass of wine. And then she orders 2 shots of Jameson. We drink those. And then she says, you want to go back to my place? And I could say no, you know? I could say it. I like doing crossword puzzles in the morning. You know, that'd be nice. And I said yes. It's like, oh, fuck, well, I'm human. And so we start walking. Now, convenient for the plot of a story where you get shenanigans, my phone dies. It's my first time in Toronto. I don't know my way around the city. And their phone is their 2,500 people you've known your whole life that are with you every waking moment, that follow you around in case shit happens, and now they're gone. So from here on out, it is all strangers, all right? And we start walking. We walk for a few blocks. We talk about some inane shit, like the differences between Dunkin' Donuts and Tim Hortons. Like, we didn't get that deep in the conversation. And it's 1 a.m. on a weeknight, Toronto. It's a big city, but there's not many people walking about. And we start talking, and after about 4 or 5 blocks, her words start slurring a little bit. And I was asking her, are you okay? And she says, I feel amazing. You know, I feel amazing. Like, you know how sometimes like sorority girls will have like drinking battle cries, like work hard, play hard, like sleep one night. Hers like, I feel amazing. And up until that point, I was just kind of worried, like, am I gonna have to meet this girl's roommate? You know, like, all that like one night stand anxiety. I'm very uncomfortable talking about this. And we keep walking for a little bit. And then after a few more blocks, we take a turn, past another Tim Hortons, take a turn, past another Tim Hortons, and then she starts like stumbling a little bit. And I was like, are you okay? She said, I'm amazing. And at this point, I'm just like, she probably just needs to get home, you know? And about a block later, she starts like breathing through her mouth, you know? And, like mouth open, kind of stumbling. I was just reminded of all those fairy tales you hear of, like, you know, when somebody's walking through a forest and they see like a cool person, that person ends up being the devil, you know? And so we're walking and it's like, okay, we just need to get her home. But she's navigating. She knows where we're going. All my faith on where we're going is with her. And we keep walking. And I was like, I just need to get this girl home, get her bed, go back to my hostel, do a crossword puzzle. And we walk. And at this point, it's about 2. There's nobody else on the streets. I don't know where we are. If we were going to try to retrace our steps and go back, we will be equally lost. And I was like, are we getting close? And she looks, and she goes, yeah, that's my building over there. And then she squints her eyes, and she goes, wait, that's not my apartment. Where are we? And spins around. I don't know if you've ever felt this level of loneliness. Like, this level of loneliness is like reserved for like children who like let a balloon go by accident for the first time and are just realizing like how high the sky is for the first time. I have nowhere to turn. I don't know where we are. There's nobody, no phone is dead, and it's just this person who is not a person at the moment. And so I'm looking around for somewhere to go, and at that moment, dark street, nobody else, this woman turns the corner. She is in a bright, like candy apple red motor scooter, walking the friendliest corgi you've ever seen. She looked like, you know, the old mascot for Cinnamon Toast Crunch? She was just like a very plum looking lady. Like, she looked like Milk and Cookies, kind of like grandma, motor scootering around with her corgi. I'm like, maybe this lady has some answers. And she's coming towards us and asks, excuse me, ma'am, this doesn't look good. We met at a bar. I don't know which, as far as I know, we just had alcohol, but she might have had something before. Maybe she's on like cold medication. I don't know what the deal is, but she's not feeling very well, and I'm just trying to get her home, but I don't know her address. Is there like any kind of resource nearby, any kind of clinic? I don't know this neighborhood. My phone is dead. Is there anywhere like is there maybe a diner nearby we could just get her some food? And without making eye contact with me, continuing the motor scooter, and she goes, well, better leave her here before she accuses you of something, and motor scooters off. I got like Meals on Wheels Cersei Lannister. Like old reverse mortgage Martin Shkreli over here. And then when she was driving off, she stopped steering her scooter to fold her arms like an assembly line genie. And then the scooter started veering off in one way, so she unfolded her arms to rewrite her line of direction, and then refolded her arms some more to keep scootering away. And so I'm still stuck with this girl. And so we walk a little bit more. I see a gas station, so I was like, well, we'll just go in there, get some food. Maybe he's got some answers. And she goes, I'm not going in there. I'm like, come on, you should probably get something to eat. She's like, no, I feel amazing. Like she's not aware of her situation. And so I was like, well, maybe let's just come in and we'll at least get warm because it's kind of chilly. And she goes, well, if I'm going in, you're going to have to catch me. And she runs. She takes about 7 steps, falls. Her mouth hits this fence, square in her mouth. She falls into the sidewalk. I run over to her. She looks up at me. I was like, are you all right? She looks at me. She has blood coming out of her mouth, down her neck. And she goes, I feel amazing. But it was like a chemical I feel amazing. Not like she was actually aware of that. But her phone fell out, and I saw her phone still had some charge. And I called 911, which works in Canada. I didn't know that. It works in Canada. They have 911 there. And so I call, and they answer, and I tell them the whole story. And he said, what number are you calling from? I said, I don't know. I'm an American. And they said, okay, well, no problem. Just give us the intersection, and we'll have somebody come out there. And I was like, okay. And this isn't going to, like, set her back at all. That's why I asked him. Like, this isn't going to be super expensive. And they're like, oh, no, it's all covered. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah. I was like, you guys are the best. And he's like, yeah, we're pretty good. And then the EMTs come, and they, like, start asking her questions. She's not being responsive to them either. And I tried to help them, and they're like, oh, no, if you don't know her, you can go. And so I sprinted. I got in the first cab. I don't care how much it cost. So the other shame of this is that I realized that I'm ashamed of the state of healthcare in the United States. Because old Cinnamon Toast Crunch lady, because Canada has universal healthcare, she didn't have to have compassion for us. So if we adopt it, if somebody like comes up and is like, hey, I need $11, I got to pay for this tumor operation, we're like, get that out of my face, because it's covered. We can be uncompassionate too if we adopt the policies. So I got a little preachy at the end, but pretty cool. Anyways, thank you guys very much. That's been the story.
Charlie Vergos. And that does it for this episode of We Still Like You. If you were one of the people who signed up to support us on Patreon, thank you so freaking much. I still can't believe how much this show has grown and how quickly it has happened. It just means so much to me, so thank you. And if you want to help support the show, now's a great time to do it. Anybody who's signs up before October 1st will be in on the ground floor. You'll get all of the goodies and all the extra stuff right from the very beginning. If you want to find out more about how to support the show, you can find a link to our Patreon account on Facebook. For the price of a beer a month, you'll get early access to episodes and a bunch of other goodies, and most of all, you'll help us do this more. If you're short on cash, but you still want to help, mention us to a friend or share this episode online. I know I've said before how much it helps, but I don't think I've done a good job of expressing just how amazingly helpful and supportive it is. And for all of you who have been doing it up until now, thank you so much. If you want to do the show and tell a story at We Still Like You, shoot us an email to westilllikeyou@gmail.com and we'll get in touch about having you on. Don't forget to snag your Chicago Podcast Festival tickets before the show sells out. That one's going to go pretty quick. And until next time, thank you for listening.
We Still Like You is produced by Tyler Snodgrass, Dan Sheehan, Danny Gallegos, Shannon Knoll, and J. Michael Osborne, our resident live artist. The podcast is produced by Jesse Patend and Sam Haas. And you can find out more. That's it, right? That's all I need to say?